I really, really like how, and this has been canon and has been shown time and time again, where when you're in Starfleet and you decide to go rogue and steal a spaceship, there's a certain really badass like mufti uniform you change into, which is like the black, the leather jacket. I mean, the entire friggin' bridge crew was wearing that shit. Everybody was wearing that. I love that. It's like they issue you your Class A's and your Class B's. You know, you got your formal occasion. And they're like, okay, if you're going to go rogue, not that we support that, but
the going rogue muftis, yes.
Hey-o, quick note before beginning the actual show. This is going to be presented to you in more of a podcast format, so there's not going to be a lot of like flashy moving pictures, none at all. So these smooth motherfuckers in their leather jackets, you're going to have to stare at them the whole time. But if you are a sci-fi Star Trek fan, if you enjoyed PICARD Season 3, what you got here is myself and my co-host Rob, my brother, just spending a little bit of time reflecting back on the amazing experience that PICARD Season 3 was. Enjoy. 4 or 5 times we've recorded, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that, and it doesn't make a video. It's just random comments, us talking about things we're watching, and Picard. And I know I know what the deal is with Picard, where people I trust are saying it's great, it's good. Whatever you do, don't watch season 1, season 2. We all know that. Yeah. But saying this is good, and you have been a very large proponent of it being good. And my whole thing up to this point was like, yeah, I watched episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and it didn't really hook me. So, I acknowledge, sure, great. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's back or whatever. It's not Kurtzman Trek anymore. But then you kind of talked me into watching the whole season. So my experience, having just blasted out episodes 4 through 10, I have some notes. The gist of it is, hell yes.
Okay, good.
I don't think it was until episode 6 that it really grabbed me. And thinking on why that was is because even though it's season 3, they couldn't rely on the building they did in 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 is complete shit and it's best to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And so they had to build from the beginning of season 3, episode 1. They had to build the story, build the characters. So, okay, when I signed off and said I wasn't that interested in it, I didn't give it a chance. It was still very much in its building up a story phase.
Right. The other 2 seasons were just so bad. Did you try to watch them?
Well, yeah, when it first came out, I watched maybe 4 episodes of season 1.
I watched the entirety of season 1 because I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I watched none of season 2. Season 1 was moderately intriguing for the first few episodes. Up to like episode 4 or 5, they almost had a good thing going. And then they just flushed so hard. It just got so dumb. You start off with a character, you don't really know them, and you get to know them, and they become more interesting. They became less interesting as you got to know them.
I thought 1 through 5's happening. I'm like, oh God, Raffi's still there. How did she survive the culling?
Raffi sucked.
I know. She's just
But they had to bring somebody in. They picked like the 3rd worst one.
Episode 6, episode 7, they did a Cobra Kai level job of fan service nostalgia, where they had LaForge, his daughter's family. They had 7 of 9 and Jack Crusher checking out the replications of the ships. And it was like a stroll down memory lane of everything Star Trek has ever done that was awesome. And it was just incredible. It was so good. I actually got like a little teary-eyed. I'm just like, oh, goddamn, Star Trek, I miss you so much.
I know, right?
Yeah. Did Andrew, I pointed this out to him last time we were recording, and I don't know if he told you this tidbit and claimed it as his own knowledge or not, but the whole time I was watching the show, I knew I had seen Jack Crusher before.
Never seen that guy.
You have?
Okay, perhaps.
Okay, so I go on IMDb after I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm going to figure out who the fuck this guy is. And I'm scrolling, and I had to scroll, because he's been in stuff, but I haven't heard of this, haven't heard of that, haven't heard of that. Right. Got all the way to like one of his first acting jobs, and it was Aragon.
Was it?
He is Aragon.
Oh, is he? Okay.
That was like the only thing he's ever done that I've ever heard of. So that's where I've seen him before. That's where you've seen him before.
Okay. Well, it would be if I'd seen Aragon.
Oh my God. 7 of 9. They should have at some point brought back the bodysuit. She probably was against it. I'm sure they brought it up, but I bet she could pull it off still very well.
She really could. Jerry Ryan is one of those people who has aged better than any of us could ever hope for, because she is hotter now than she was in the 90s.
And I mean, she's got to be mid to late 40s.
Yeah, at least.
And I mean, compared to most of the, oh God, it's the original Next Generation cast. They're all on the bridge, and Jerry's there also. Most people, myself included, give her a pass for being there because, she might not have been TNG, but she was V, she was
right.
Voyager. Yeah, compared to them, she looked like a freaking supermodel.
It's not just that. She's really good. Unlike virtually everyone on the cast of The Next Generation, she reads action star. In a gunfight, 7 of 9 is perfectly acceptable. Jonathan Frakes, less so.
Yeah, if I'd put any of those people up against The Rock in a Mortal Kombat gladiatorial fight, it'd have to be 7. So, yeah.
Yeah, she could handle it. The rest of them would just get destroyed.
Yeah, so she definitely got a pass from me, but Raffi did not.
The good thing about Raffi is that sometimes while you're watching the show, you want to get up and make some coffee. And so whenever she's on, there you go.
The whole thing with bringing back, I don't know if she was a commander or a lieutenant originally, but Little Miss Rowe.
Oh, Ro Laren, yes.
Yeah.
When they brought her back, I loved that.
That was good. That was so good. And I thought she was a changeling.
Yeah, she didn't just cameo. She was part of the plot.
She owned that whole episode or two. And they're like, okay, she's not really a main character, but she's definitely like a C-tier character. We're going to kill her. And they made it all awesome. And just the whole time she's there, you're like, oh my God, she's a changeling. And then she actually pulls a gun on Jean-Luc and forces him into the holodeck. And then he pulls his gun on her, and they're both pulling their guns on each other. And when you get Jean-Luc in a holodeck and he's like back against the wall, he's going to pull out a Tommy gun and just start shouting and machine gunning people. Yeah, her whole stint on the show was awesome. That's how you do a good like fan service nostalgia.
I don't know how much you recall and all, but you do remember her last episode from Next Generation, right?
I don't.
Dude, okay.
Was everything they were referencing like true to canon?
Absolutely, yes. There is bad blood between her and Picard.
She did leave for the Maquis or what have you.
After several seasons of integrating her, having her become a real character, having her become an almost part of the main cast, she betrays them all for the Maquis.
Dun, dun, dun.
She betrays them for her people. And it didn't set it up, but it had a strong influence on the plot of Deep Space Nine. The tension between the Cardassians and the Bajorans and the Maquis.
Plus, the actress, has some sci-fi cred because, here comes the Pegasus on BSG, and guess who friggin' the captain is? It's her.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things about Battlestar Galactica was their little miniseries, Razors.
Oh, yes, that was excellent. Oh, she played such a good crazy person. My only complaint about Galactica is that they killed her off too fast. They should have had the craziness develop over like a half a season.
They definitely improved on the original Battlestar Galactica because, what was the Pegasus? A 2-part episode?
It was a 2-parter, yeah, and it had the guy who picked the bad week to stop sniffing glue and picked the bad week to stop fighting Cylons.
So, anyway, she was a relatively minor Star Trek TNG character. A lot of people who probably are like, yeah, I used to watch that, probably had no idea who the fuck it was when she showed up on the show.
But they included her enough to like turn her into a kid, like her and Guinan and Picard, and like they all got transformed into kids in that one stupid episode. I loved that. That was one of my favorite bad episodes.
So they hit that super duper special need to break in. We're going to have a break-in movie. And as soon as they get there, before things start going completely pear-shaped, they have some voices of the security system. And one of them is obviously Data. They actually have like just one quick line from Data, but I hear it. How come they didn't hear it? Nobody heard it. I heard it.
Right? Yeah. Well, I didn't notice it, but I did notice a little Star Trek woo moment for me. Just real quick, they pass by. What, if you're a super geek, you'll know.
Oh, the Tribble?
No, the Genesis Project.
What, they have the capsule?
Yeah, they have the capsule from Genesis.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't even see it.
I had to, of course, rewind and go, oh my God, it was Genesis! So that was my big moment. That's probably how I missed Data, is because I couldn't shut up about the Genesis project and how I was awesome for spotting it. Logically, none of that makes sense. Why are you going to use Data as your security system?
He's the best AI out there.
Why not just have a regular security system? What's wrong with that? And here's another problem. They have to override the thing, and they've got 40 seconds to override the thing, or the energy weapons will come on, and they'll blast us, and they're lethal. Why are they lethal? This is the Federation. We're not the Romulans. We don't kill you for trying to break in.
It would cost nothing to stun the interlopers.
They'd have some very powerful stunners. That bothered me.
I think most of those scenes were influenced by Ocean's 11 rather than the original series and the Next Generation.
They were trying to ramp up the tension, but in doing so, they forgot that this is 24th century people, not 20th century people, and they're more advanced and enlightened and not so quick to just murder the shit out of people.
Worf, a lot of his statements and declarations and quips were played in the previews for the season, or at least in like the YouTube stuff that I saw. And they come off, when you just hear them absent any context, as very cheesy and like, they're trying to make jokes. He's joking. But in the show, it was very consistent, his character. And honestly, that was the most I ever liked him, because he didn't get thrown across the room by whatever person decided to invade the bridge. And he actually kicked ass. And him, and I hate to say it, but Raffi, but she was there too. First of all, it was like her control. Oh my God, it's Worf. And then Worf has a control, and oh my God, it's Ro. And it all just like, bam.
That was a cool little chain of discovery we got to go on. Worf's new angle on life, this whole like peaceful monk thing where violence is a last resort. I liked that to an extent. He could have gone with more that he's like part of a movement on Klingon or something. I don't know. But I kind of liked that bent to his character. The only thing that was a little incongruous is when Worf first shows up, he kills more people than he killed in the entirety of Next Generation. And then he starts talking about peace. You haven't even cleaned the blood off your sword yet, man.
Shaw
was amazing. The greatest new character Star Trek has come up with.
Best thing about him, what was good about him, I thought, is he was doing quippy, Joss Whedon-esque Marvel lines for comedy's sake, but they were so well written that not a single one of them came off as story-jarringly anachronistic, like what you see in most movies nowadays, where you have...
Yes.
In Willow, they're saying like, come on, bro, dude.
Yeah. Very much like the first 2 seasons of Picard. Or any attempt at watching Discovery or any of the Kurtzman track.
I don't know why it's so impossible for normal Hollywood writers who are now on strike and they can go fuck themselves. I hope they never come back.
Yeah, right. What if we lost?
Whoever was writing his lines was able to write him doing exactly that, but not coming off like, just quippy here, quippy there.
It wasn't just quips. It was passive-aggressive quips. He didn't like this whole situation at all. This whole thing bothered him. He just wants to have a normal day as a normal captain. And this is dumped into the middle of his life, and he's pissed about it. Shaw is just the greatest new character they've come up with for Star Trek in years. And I was very heartbroken when he died because I desperately wanted him to have his own show. This guy needs to be in command of the Titan, and they need a Titan-focused show. Shaw in charge. And the fact that he came up from the engineering track, and so when he had to cede control to Picard and Riker, he went right back to engineering and started coming up with engineering-based solutions to problems. It very much fit with his character. They put a lot of thought into the Shaw guy. Somebody did.
Having the Tuvok cameo was kind of cool. At least that was like another little bit of Voyager.
They brought back Tuvok for a bit there. Yeah, I liked him, and he's one of those actors who seems to kind of get Star Trek. There's certain ones who really get the whole thing that's going on with Star Trek. And I don't know if you've ever heard Tim Russ talking or whatever, but
nope.
There's some people like him and like Nimoy, certain people like them, just the actor kind of gets what's happening and gets what's important about Star Trek. And when they talk, you can really hear it in their voice. And Tim Russ is one of those.
My initial note was, oh, it's Tuvok, but then he's a changeling. But then they actually bring the real Tuvok out at the end. So I was like, okay, good.
Yeah. They had the happy ending Tuvok, I guess.
Not that Voyager was the greatest thing in the world or anything, but, if you're going to take a walk down memory lane and have nostalgia, I'm glad they had some other Voyager connection besides 7 of 9.
Yeah.
Also, when her and Jack Crusher are doing, the walk down memory lane, there's the Voyager, and she got to explain how, it went farther than and blah, blah, blah. That was kind of cool. I like that.
Voyager gets a lot of shit, but I think the biggest problem it had was that exactly half of its main characters sucked. They just sat there and did nothing, and you had no interest in them.
When they're casting and they're thinking about like, okay, we're gonna write this story and we're gonna bring back some awesome characters. Nobody wanted to bring back Paris. Nobody wanted to bring back Harry Kim. No,
they
nobody.
Sucked. Those two at least got a little bit of something going on, but that poor girl who had to get in Klingon makeup every day and then just do nothing with it.
Nothing related to being a Klingon at all, ever.
She would have been the exact same character with a normal head.
Poor little Baelana.
Oh, and don't get me started on fucking Neelix. Fuck you, Neelix.
If they brought Neelix back, would you have just boycotted the whole season?
Oh, my God. The thing gives me nightmares. He is the Jar Jar Binks of fucking Star Trek. Also, it was on Voyager that really the whole ethos of the Federation and the Prime Directive and what it's all about really got spelled out a whole lot. There's the deep Trek lore and why the Prime Directive and what the Prime Directive really is all about and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of Voyager that goes into that. Yeah,
that level of morality would not fly in Hollywood today.
Absolutely would not.
If you try to have that kind of moral standards bedrock in a show like WandaVision, you couldn't have WandaVision. Amanda Plummer, once they revealed they were changelings, once I saw her for a little more into the season, I came around and was like, okay, if that's what they're going for, she's a good actress to pull that off. I thought she did a really, really good job of acting. My biggest problem with her, and this is a huge problem, she's the only person I've ever heard grossly overpronounce Picard.
Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard. What are you doing? Just no one does that. That was weird, right?
I guess. I don't think I could hear her past all the bombing going on from her ship.
So it's weird that a celebrity, and I just made air quotes, but really Amanda Plummer, you could call her a celebrity, obviously. She has a resume. She's done stuff. But I hate that that's what sci-fi is, that it's such a, sub genre of most things that Amanda Plummer is kind of a huge get.
Right. I like that. I want to keep big Hollywood players out of my Star Trek because look what happened to Star Wars.
God damn it.
You get too much big Hollywood into there and they will screw it up hardcore. And really look what's happened to Star Trek for the last 30 years up until this point.
The beginning of the end of Star Trek, I think, was J.J. Abrams. Also, the beginning of the end of Star Wars was J.J. Abrams.
Yes. You are correct. He has done so much damage to everything good. But at least we get lens flares.
Why do you think the entire bridge crew of the Titan is a bunch of bald lesbians?
Well, there were really two bald lesbians. They killed one bald lesbian.
There was the Vulcan and the green, yeah. Well, I look back in Star Trek Discovery, not that I watched it that much, but I bet I could look at that crew and they had a couple of bald or short-haired lesbians. It's just a thing where this is the future. Everyone's a bald lesbian. Do you think lesbianism is logical?
Certainly not. It serves no function.
She's going to be alive for centuries, has no desire to procreate because she doesn't want to take that shit on because that'd take away from her work.
Well, they can't help themselves when the Pomfar comes around.
Jack Crusher, Visions, etc. The show, they didn't hesitate, and they did it for many, many episodes where they had ominous foreshadowing. They started pretty early with really ominous harbingers of shit happening.
Right.
And then they had the big unveiling. And I went into this, having seen some YouTube critical videos of the season as a whole or positive videos. So I kind of knew where they were going. But looking at the foreshadowing, they never once really let it slip or hinted where they were ultimately going.
That's absolutely true. Yes, it was a reveal.
And it's not like they gave like a little hint or two. I mean, he was, like 5 or 6 episodes. He had some significant psychic shit going on, and then they had the Troy scene. And I was like, I really wish I didn't know this was coming, because that'd be pretty goddamn awesome.
Oh, see, I didn't. I didn't watch any of the previews or anything.
Did you know it was coming? Did you know Troy was, when she opened the door, that's what it was going to be?
No, I was making all kinds of jokes about like furry porn pictures and stuff that she sees fit.
Well, as a counselor.
So it kind of lost a little of its impact on me because I was too busy giggling.
When they get to, whether it be Doctor Who, even the really awesome times of Doctor Who, and this, for example, like when they get to like episode 9, episode 10, and everything's like shooting and blowing up, I know you're just like, bro, yeah. I usually kind of tune out. I'm like, all right, the good stuff for me is like, I guess maybe the setup rather than the explosions.
I like the explosion-y stuff when it's smaller scale. Like the general conflict between Titan and, the bomb ship was much more intense and much more riveting than that giant orgasm of battle at the end.
That's my problem with the Orville, is as good as the show is they started doing the whole orgasm of battle every episode kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't need that. That's boring.
No.
Titan trying to outmaneuver bomb ship, and they're, just chasing each other around, and the tension, and it's just, you can focus in on what's going on so much better.
So during that action-packed, high-paced action scene, how does Raffi walking down a corridor manage to encounter 5 of the incoming changeling bad guys, and all of them have melee weapons and none of them have guns?
God, why was that? Yeah, why was that?
That was a stupid girl boss moment. Thumbs down on that.
As the cast sort of slowly reassembled itself, they could have just gone the lazy way and just had them all basically show up together. But they actually had a reason for everybody to be there. They didn't just like, okay, we're having our Frontier Day celebration and here's the crew of the Next Generation all together. Boom, an adventure happens and they're once. No, they all, like, through various twists of the plot, found their way back to the bridge of the Enterprise. And just how they brought that all together.
Nobody's participation seemed like perfunctory or, by the numbers. They actually explained everybody being there.
Yeah. That's actual writing. It's been so long since we've seen actual writing involved with Star Trek that I was so impressed by how that happened. As the crew sort of starts getting together, you can just tell these are actors who have known each other for decades. Just the way they bounce off of each other and the way they interact with each other. Everyone is so comfortable with everyone else and so comfortable in the role. I loved watching them and just the little interactions. And special MVP award on this really goes to Jonathan Frakes, because Riker stole every scene he was in. He knew this character so well, and he had played this character so often, and he was just so comfortable. I was very impressed by it. It really should have been Riker season 1. The way this all ended, they set it up for a whole new show, and I would love to see the Adventures of the Titan with 7 of 9 in charge and Sydney on the bridge. I mean, they were great. There's so much potential in this new show, which is probably not going to happen, but it could. I think Kurtzman's probably going to see the huge reaction that season 3 gets and get his ass back involved in Star Trek.
And fuck it all up again.
Screw it all up again, yeah, because there's no way he's going to not try to take credit for this. It's his first and foremost instinct to get in and destroy everything that makes Star Trek good. So we probably won't see it. But for a brief few months here, there's the hope. There's something.